Before we talk about this particular patient, let's go back in history and talk about paradigms. During the Industrial Revolution, we learned more than ever before to look at things as machines with component parts. And if we could just make sure that we had the right component part working the way it should, then everything would line up perfectly. And so, to a large extent, the way we've treated ourselves, health-wise, since then, has worked along those lines. What's the piece that's not working? And if it's doing too much, let's make sure it does less of it. If it's not doing enough, let's give it something to do more of it. So a lot of our health approach has been based on this paradigm that I think comes all the way back from the Industrial Revolution, where we go, gee, we're a set of parts, and we just fix the parts. And if you have a problem with this part, you take this medicine for this part. Or nowadays, you go to a health food store, you take, well, this herb or this supplement for this part, and that should take care of it. Well, certainly taking supplements and herbs can be a big step forward when it's the right thing to do and there are no, of course, side effects like you do have with a lot of drugs. Unfortunately, we're still working the same paradigm, aren't we? We need to move to a different paradigm because our bodies are open systems. They're not closed systems. Our bodies work on relationships. In fact, we as humans can only work in the context of relationships. We are social beings and we work and live in society. The same thing applies to our inner self, to the way our organs and our body parts work. They work in relationship with another, just like a garden does. If the soil isn't good, each particular bush or part of the garden is not going to do well. So I want to talk a little bit more about that. I'm going to suggest that we need to move from a tic-tac-toe approach, which is quite one-dimensional, to more of a chess approach, where we're looking at how the different pieces work with each other and formulate a strategy, which is what we do in this clinic, to get you for the point from where you are to where you need to be, which is where I've said before, that's where your body is working better by itself, naturally. So now let's see how that might apply clinically. So let's go back to this lady that we're talking about. So you remember she's got the issues with fatigue, digestion, thyroid, overweight, etc. So let's start with her stomach, which is the first place that food will go down in. So she's been taking antacids, and she also has an issue with calcium, so she's been taking calcium supplements. Well, if you take antacids, one of the things it will do is going to do what? It's going to raise the pH in your stomach, because they're alkaline in nature. You need a low pH in your stomach to be able to break down certain foods into the mineral constituents so you can better absorb them. Not only that, but you need a low pH in your stomach to do what else? To help you with sanitizing the food. So a lot of E. coli, salmonella, bacteria can be stopped dead in its tracks there. It doesn't get into the intestines, which is more vulnerable for infection. Let's go back now to the stomach. So you might say, well, gee, what she needs to do then is just stop the antacids, among other things, because that will help her calcium absorption. And that may be partly true, but that's not all the story. If you have a low pH in the stomach to get the calcium moving through, broken down, it goes to the intestines, but there you need enough vitamin D to move from the intestines to your blood. Of course, your blood isn't where you want it to end up eventually. Some of it should be there. You want to move that to your tissues. There you need fatty acids to do that. So you have to make sure you have enough fatty acids to move it from there to your tissues. So simple calcium supplementation by itself may not be enough. Another issue may happen is, remember we said this lady had issues what? Falling asleep and waking up. This lady has cortisol issues. The adrenal glands are creating a hormone called cortisol, which among other things helps to regulate her sugar levels when she's not doing that on her own through her food. So what's going to happen next is this cortisol level will have an effect, believe it or not, on her stomach and her gut permeability. So she may have stomach issues from chronic high cortisol levels. And we have an inkling of that, the fact that she can't go to sleep at night. Well, it will also have an effect on where else? High cortisol levels, chronic high cortisol levels can have an effect on your thyroid. So remember we said she was on thyroid medication. She wasn't producing enough T3. High cortisol levels can interfere with the level of T3. Let's go back to the stomach. Guess what else now the thyroid gets involved in? Thyroid will have an effect on her stomach. So if she's got low thyroid production, that may have an issue with how well her stomach may work, because there are receptors for thyroids in your cell as well as every other cell in your body practically. Doesn't stop there though. The cortisol levels can affect what? Can affect her ability to her cells work with and be sensitive to insulin. So chronic cortisol levels can lead to insulin resistance. So it can be one of those cofactors that will affect insulin resistance, and that's going to affect, among other things, obesity. What else is going to be going on? If you've got chronic cortisol, you might tell yourself, gee, well, it's an adrenal issue, so let me give myself an adrenal supplement. Well, it's not as simple as just regulating what is happening in the adrenals, because the adrenals are like a factory, and they take orders from the brain. And there's a part of the brain called the hypothalamus and the hippocampus, and the hypothalamus and the hippocampus, that will regulate the rhythm and the amount of production taking place in the adrenals. So if she can't go to sleep at 11 o'clock at night because she's up, her cortisol level may be too high, and that rhythm is controlled by a part of the brain. So now it's a brain-related function, not just an adrenal function. Taking adrenal supplements off the shelf at a health food store sometimes may help, if that's the only issue, that she had B vitamins or C vitamins that are low. But there's a rhythm issue to take place as well. And that's one of the things we do in this clinic, is take a look at that and see where a person is with that, to formulate not a tic-tac-toe approach, but a chess approach as to what we should do. Chronic cortisol may also affect her progesterone levels. And remember we mentioned she was on progesterone hormone replacement therapy. So that's just one of the cofactors among others. So that's just one of the things you want to keep in mind. What else was going on with her? We talked about her digestive issues that cortisol may affect, gut permeability. Remember we said we had the brain, she had brain fog and she had digestive issues. If you've got gut permeability issues, if you have gut issues with inflammation, you may have something called inflammatory cytokines, which are little pieces of protein that may affect and cross a broad blood-brain barrier, may affect the way that your brain works. Now, what will happen there? Well, you may have brain issues that are associated with the way your gut is working or isn't working. You may not even feel any gut symptoms at all, but they're affecting your brain. They're affecting her level of mood, her anxiety, her irritability. It may affect her memory. In addition to that, her brain will now affect her gut, because a lot of the energy of the brain is spent via a nerve that comes down into your body called the vagus nerve to help activate digestion and your digestive tissues. So you have to have a healthy brain to have a healthy gut. So as you can see, there's an interrelationship that takes place here. And the replacement paradigm isn't enough. It works some of the time, but not all the time. And it really isn't a good foundation. We want to look at your soil. We want to look at this relationship that's taking place between the organs in your body parts, as part of what we do here. And when we do that, and we're able to identify, clinically target, and support what it is that you need in a way that helps you harmonize and to reestablish balance in your inner garden of health, then you have a better chance at removing the barriers to healing, so that your nutrition, your exercise, your Pilates, your yoga, your boot camps, your cycling, whatever you want to do works better, because your body works better, your body's ready to handle it. Keep this in mind. Each one of us is an amazing healing machine. We simply need to help remove the barriers that are allowing us not to heal, so that when we're able to heal, whatever we do to activate that healing will work at a deeper level. And that's what we do here. We find out, where are your barriers to healing? What interrelationships are not working? What stress patterns in your body are showing up that give us a clue as to where we need to start with first? Success is about taking the first step, then the second step, then the third step, in the right sequence, at the right time, at the right place. And that's what our intent is. And when we do that, that gives me the great joy and satisfaction of seeing people that are telling us, you know what, I feel better than ever, for the first time in years. So I'm going to ask you to take a look around the website, and if you see what you like, go to our contact page and give us a call. We'd love to help you if we can. I'll do all I can to see if I can be of service to you. And after an examination, if I find out that I cannot be of service to you, I'll let you know that. You'll be able to decide best what's good for you. And I'll help you to find the right person who is, if I'm not the right person for you. I'm Dr. Luis Orlando. Thank you for taking the time to listen to me.